question or write a prompt or whatever, and I respond. So I thought that we could do one of those videos, and I put on my community tab a poll for it, and this Storytime prompt and then saying your names and doing your requested triggers was like the top two. They were pretty much neck and neck. So I went over to my Instagram to have them break the tie, and this one. But with that being said, I will probably do the names and triggers because it was just so popular. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I just felt like the mic was a little bit too high up. Anyway, so yeah, follow my Insta if you want to follow along. Also, so these Storytime prompts came from my community tab. Also a video where I pinned the comment saying to add your prompts or questions from that, and then also from Instagram where it was like a little ask box that said to add your prompt or question, and there was a few of my friends that, you know, from real life that wrote a story time, and they were humiliating and funny, but inappropriate for YouTube. So if you want the real tea and the, you know, more spicier and funnier ones, that is where you're gonna see it, is on Instagram. Okay, so I have my iPad in front of me. And I typed all the questions down. I didn't write like the answers to them. So this might be a little bit scatterbrained, but I'm gonna try my best to keep it organized. Also, it's kind of like a Q&A, but I want it to be more story-based, so I'll try to keep it just me telling stories versus Q&A and whatever, but I'm so rambly, and who knows. I know this is gonna be a long video too, because I'm so rambly. I also have a glass of wine, or rosé. To add a little bit of spice to this video. And also, you just know I love drinking. Drinking in my videos, drinking wine. Okay. I'm gonna try to keep it organized of like my job, career, college, Europe, whatever, but if it's scattered again, sorry. Okay. Let's just do the first chunk. So this is gonna be more like childhood, family, personal things, I guess. The first one is the funny childhood stories. So I think the first one that comes to mind is the one me and Johnny, my younger brother, talked about in our last video together, where when we were at the cabin one summer, one time when we were kids, and the kids took the boat out, and I think my older brother was driving, or maybe a cousin. Anyway, the kids took out the boat, and when we got out there's no adults. The gas level was on E. We all convinced ourselves that it was extra fuel. We had no idea. I mean, I was probably like 12, 13 maybe. None of us had any idea that E meant empty. And I think a couple of us kind of had that thought, but we all were like, yeah, extra fuel. Like, why would our parents or aunt and uncles or grandparents give us a boat that has no gas? So we were just like, it has to be empty fuel. It was not empty fuel. None of us had cell phones, or if we did have cell phones, they weren't like with us. And I think we were young enough to where we didn't have, I had a flip phone, but there was no like iPhone anyway. And so we had to like get another boat to help us. We were in the middle of the lake. It was so funny and just ridiculous. That's one of my favorite stories. Another one, and this was when we were really young, me and my brothers, but I always think of this sometimes because it's so funny. We always fought for the first sip. So when our dad, I have a specific memory of when my dad took us to a baseball game, and he bought us a bottle of pop that we could share, because we didn't drink a lot of pop as kids, or at least like the super sugary ones. Like, we would maybe have, okay, I'm not even gonna go on a tangent, we don't have time for that. Anyway, so he bought us a pop, but we all had to split it each time, and we would fight each other for the first sip. Like, Dad, Johnny had had the first sip the last time. Joey would be like, I'm the oldest, it's my first sip. Or, I would just be like, I'm the girl, I get the first sip. Ridiculous, but so funny. Like, yeah. Or if we were at like the zoo or at wherever, and we got like a bottle of water, bottle of pop, bottle of Gatorade. Well, no, we usually all had our own Gatorade. That we did have. We had a lot of Gatorade, but it's specifically like pop because that was a treat. So all three of us would have to split a bottle, and we would just fight and fight for the first sip. I don't know. It's just funny to me. And me and my brothers like fought. Like, I've mentioned this again when Johnny was on my channel, but we would fight, like wrestle fight. I think another funny one is just like at our house, the back, growing up, our house, like there was like a deck and like a patio area in the back, and from the bathroom in the top floor you could hear what was going on, like if you opened up the window. So when my dad and my stepmom would have parties, we would always try to like eavesdrop or like catch them smoking a cigarette, because we just were like, oh, like that's so bad. And it was never anything exciting. But I'd be like, Joey, they're smoking cigarettes. And then he'd be like, oh my gosh. Now it's just hilarious, because now that I'm an adult, I'm like, yeah, of course they're having a cigarette. They just had a party and had to deal with a bunch of young kids, put the 6, 9, and 12-year-old to bed and have a cig. I get it now. Okay. Story from your favorite birthday. I have to say, I am extremely fortunate, lucky, whatever, that honestly all my birthdays are pretty, I've got a lot of good people in my life. Like, I could cry right now even thinking about it. My friends, my family, my loved ones just make, coworkers, I mean, just everyone, my neighbors, like I could go on. Everyone makes my birthday so special. And I'm not that big of a birthday person. I like to have a party where everyone goes out and dances and drinks, and then I'm good. Like, I don't need. But anyway, I have a lot of amazing memories from my birthdays throughout the years. My favorite, I mean, I guess the first thing that came to mind is, I believe I was turning 5, and I was living in Madrid at the time, Madrid, Spain, and my dad, my stepmom, my Nana and my uncle all came to Madrid to celebrate, and they're like, such special people to me, and to have them come out. And anyway, so they came out, and my dad kind of like, well, my stepmom like rented these like 2 floors of this market in Madrid, San Ildefonso. If you happen to ever go to Madrid, go to it. San Ildefonso. Anyway, and it's my favorite market in Madrid. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I went there all the time. And I invited all of my friends, co-workers, neighbors, everyone that I was friends with in Madrid. Every nationality, like obviously my Spanish friends, American friends, British, Austrian, German, French, Irish, Australian, I think also New Zealand. It was just a massive party, and my family was there, my friends. It was a sunny night, and my dad just had everyone eat and drink, and he just met all my friends, and all my friends thought my Nana's very thick New York accent was the wildest thing. They were like, my Austrian friend Kati, she was like, I thought the New York accent was only in movies. And I'm like, no. And then you add the Italianness to her. My Nana's just a character. Anyway, that was such a special birthday, and I have nothing but the best memories from that day and night. So I'm gonna have to say that. Yeah. Okay. Story of your favorite memory with your father, grandfather, or fatherly figure. Yeah, I think that's okay. Oops. Yeah, so my dad, I am, again, very, very fortunate, lucky, blessed, whatever, that my dad is the best dad. I know a lot of people say that, but he is objectively, he is one of the best dads in the world. He's one of my best friends. He's such an important person in my life, and I think I mentioned this before, but I was not raised by my mom. I was raised by my dad, and then of course my stepmom too later on. But my dad I'm just so close with him, and he is the reason for a lot of my success and happiness. So I have a lot of amazing memories with him. I'll do maybe one from childhood and then one from adulthood. So I would say for childhood, in grade school, I went to the same grade school. It was like a K through 8 type of deal. And every time he had to go to the school at night, for parent-teacher conferences, open house, basketball game, whatever the case was, he would always go to my homeroom, my classroom, and go into my locker, or when I was young and didn't have a locker yet, my desk, how it, opens up, and he would leave treats and toys and candies and notes. And he doodles. He's a really good doodler, making cartoons. He's a good drawer. And so he'd make little cartoons and drawings and just, write me notes. And at the time I loved it, and I thought I was so special, and I loved it. But now that I'm an adult looking back, it's just, he just always went above and beyond to make me feel loved and special, and how proud he was of me and all that stuff. So that is those memories of opening up my locker and having a cupcake and a little cartoon of me, and it was the best daughter ever or whatever. Oh, I love it. Then as an adult, I is when me and him were in Paris a few years ago, and we spent an entire day going to the museums, history museums, art museums, World War II, the Louvre, Napoleon's tomb, and he just talked about history and everything, and I got my love of history and everything, history books, history movies, history everything from him, and just talking to him about it and hearing his thoughts and stories. Like, I could relive that day over and over. It was so special. And we're in Paris, and the little Paris cafes and food and wine and coffee, it was just perfect. It was the perfect Jenna and Dad day. It was great. Okay. Okay, so this is kind of like the last more personal random one, I would say. Any story related to Marilyn Monroe? You guys know I love Marilyn Monroe. She's the best. I would say when me and my dad went to Florida to help my Nana after she had surgery, like just, to take care of her and stuff. And there was a Marilyn Monroe, well, actually, I don't think it was Marilyn Monroe. I think it was like the Rat Pack, or maybe something 60s related. Anyway, it was a magazine dealing with something in the 50s and 60s, and Marilyn Monroe was in it. And I was just talking to my Nana about her and what I love. And my Nana would just tell me stories and what she thought of Marilyn and the Rat Pack and life, because she was born in the 40s, so life in the 50s and 60s and her take on everything. And that's just so special to me, because she is such a special person to me. And so is Marilyn and the Rat Pack, Peter Lawford, the Kennedys, all that. So that was cool. That was really cool. Okay, now it's kind of like job and career. Okay. So, how you got into your career? This is going to be a lame story because I honestly just kind of fell into it. How I got into my career. So I graduated college with a degree in Spanish and international politics. Not what I do now. Right now I'm in software. I'm not going to say specifically which niche industry or company or position, but sales, marketing, conference-based. I'm customer-facing. And I just fell into it. So I graduated with Spanish and international politics. The idea of that was to work in an embassy, work in immigration law, work in international law, do something. I knew I wanted something international, maybe hopefully with Spanish. I loved Spain, so when I moved to Spain, even, I thought that would be good to then end up working for, so anyway, that's whole nother tangent. But so I was living in Spain. Super long story short, when COVID happened, you know what I'm gonna say, it's the tale as old as time. I moved back to the US and moved in with my parents. That is a whole story in and of itself. It was honestly pretty traumatic leaving Spain, because imagine up and leaving your house that you were in for years, within a day, just packing what you can and then fleeing, without saying goodbye to your coworkers, your friends, your partner. Everything was just gone. Anyway, so I came home, and then in 2020, I just pushed my resume out to everyone and everything. A startup tech company saw it and was just like, hey, like, you know, this sounds interesting enough. Do you want to come work for us? And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but sure. And I'm so lucky that they took a chance on me, because when I entered that startup, that opened up my eyes and the doors to the tech world, and they put me in different positions to see where I would excel, and I just excelled, and I loved trade shows, conferences, traveling, sales, marketing, all that kind of stuff. So I had no background in it. I'm no longer with that company, but it was the best first tech career job I could have asked for. So I'm at a different company now, but that's how I started in my career, and I love it. Okay. Advice and stories about navigating your career journey, and then fun stories about it with mention of business travel. Yeah. Okay, so let's do advice first. Let's see, advice navigating your career. Okay, so I would say my biggest advice, and again, this is coming from someone who's newer, to the tech software business world. I didn't go to school for business or sales or marketing or anything. Like, I learned just through drinking out of the fire hose, and the terms were so new and odd to me, but now I'm up to speed. So take my advice with a grain of salt, because I'm not in the field that I ever thought I would be in, nor ever wanted to be in. It worked out for me, but for real, take it with a grain of salt. But I would say, come up with your top 3 priorities that you want in a job, and don't sacrifice those or yourself. What I mean by that is, maybe you're wanting to start a family, you're 30 years old, you want to start a family, you want to buy a house, so security and money is your top. That's great. But then what else? Do you also want to have the flexibility of working from home, so that you can work from home some days, so you can do the laundry, be there, be home if a kid gets sick, whatever it is? Maybe those are your top 3 priorities. Stick to that and find a job that matches that. And don't sacrifice it. Maybe you're 26 and you just want to travel and hustle. Okay, so business travel, and then maybe you want commission based, or you want a higher salary or upward mobility. Take those as your top priorities and don't sacrifice any for a job. Maybe you want to work remotely, and that's your number 1, and then your second one is position title. So you want a position as director. You don't care about the pay, you just want that role. Okay? Make that your priority. I think it's when people sacrifice their true top priorities that they get stuck in a job. And everyone's priorities are so different. But my advice is to come up with yours and stick to them. And they could change. But if you're looking for a new job, come up with your current priorities and stick with them. And then check in with yourself. Maybe a year into that job, your priorities change, and you're like, you know what? I'm done traveling for work. Like, that priority's out the window. Okay, talk to your current company, and if they can't work around that, maybe it's time to look for a new one. Whatever, you know what I mean? Okay, stories about my career in traveling. Yeah, so I travel for work. I used to travel a lot. I think there was one year where I traveled, I want to say like once or twice a month. It was wild. Now it's not that crazy, but yes, I do travel for work. It's different with each company I've been at, but it's fun. Especially if you go to a cool place, especially if you like your coworkers. And at 2 companies, I have had both best friends at the company that I'm still friends with to this day. And when we would travel, we would just have a ball. great show. And you guys, it was really cute. It was like your storybook movie. It was like a book or a movie. My company's booth was here. His company's booth was here, like across the aisle in the conference center or in the convention center. I don't remember where we were. It was either, I don't know, anyway. And literally, I was telling my coworkers in my booth, like, oh my gosh, that guy's really cute at that company. Little, like, announced to me, he was also saying that about me to his coworkers. So, eventually, towards the end of the day, he worked up the courage to come over and start talking to me and flirting with me. And yeah, and then it was so funny because he actually added me on LinkedIn. He didn't ask for my number. He was just like, let's connect on LinkedIn. And we actually had a layover that was at the same time in a city, going back to our respective towns and whatever states that we're from. And so he messaged me on LinkedIn later that day and was like, hey, like, let's hang out. Let's meet up for the during our layover. And that's how we started talking and dating. We're not together now, and nothing happened. That was bad. We're still friends, and we're in the same industry. Not really, actually, but kind of. He's more in like, anyway. So yeah, that was a fun, like, meet cute. Is that what the kids call it? Meet cute. But yeah, that was a kind of a juicy story, and of course, all my coworkers just ate that shit up. They were like, oh, they wouldn't let me live it down, but it worked out for a while. But that was a long distance relationship, and that's a whole other video. Anyway, okay. First time you quit a job. So, the first time I quit a job, it's kind of a funny story. Me and my best friend in high school, me and her were bound at the hip, like truly like sisters. Like we had to do everything together. And so, of course, for our first job, when we turned 16, we're like, we'll get a job together. I'm sure you see where this is going. We got a job at a clothing store at the mall. And we had to have every shift together. We had to always have our break together. And we're two 16-year-old girls. Like, they did not care. We would talk all the time. They eventually put us in different departments. She was in the jeans. I was in, like, the t-shirts or whatever. Yes, I do remember that because it was just so funny to me. And they stopped putting us on the same shift. They stopped giving us the same breaks, which, duh, like, I was the problem. I understand that. But at the time, I was like, So finally, we got so fed up with, like, not ever working together and, like, why we didn't even like the job. Like, if you liked the job, obviously I've had, now in my life, I have other jobs where she isn't with me and I love them. So it's not like, we hated the job. The only reason we loved it was because we had each other. So the second they stopped putting us together, we quit. and they knew. Like, we texted our boss and was just like, you can take us off the calendar. And I'm pretty sure she was like, yeah, I already did. Oh yeah. Okay. Stories from study abroad, and then stories from your Europe trips. Okay, so yes, I have two separate Spain situations. One, in college, my junior year, studied abroad in Barcelona. Then went back to my college town, graduated, and then when I was 22, when I graduated college, I moved back to Spain, to Madrid, for a few years, or a couple years. That was because of how much I loved Spain after being in Barcelona. The food, the people, the culture, everything. So I moved back after college, and also, like I mentioned before, I wanted to maybe do something in embassy work or Spanish work, so I wanted to immerse myself fully into that culture. Okay. Study abroad. Okay, so let's do a couple stories from study abroad. The first one, we were taking a bus to Switzerland from Barcelona. Or should I do? I've got a bunch of stories from study abroad. Let's narrow it down to 2. Yeah, we'll do the bus one. So, bus from Barcelona to, I think it was like Geneva, Interlaken. I don't remember, somewhere in Switzerland. And the bus ride was only supposed to be like 7 or 8 hours. So we brought booze, and we're like, let's start drinking at hour 5 or 6, so then we're nice and drunk when we get to Switzerland, and we can go right out, to the bars or clubs or whatever when we get there. So we do that. Me and my whole group of friends on the bus, and so we do that. Only the bus driver got lost in France. So now this 7-8 hour bus ride, 12 plus hours. Mind you, we're drinking all of our booze because we're expecting to go out. So now we're on a bus in the middle of nowhere, France, lost, drunk. We try to get out and talk to people at these towns, but no one spoke English, which that's fair. We were in France, but when you go to like Paris or, like Monaco or wherever, they speak a little bit of English. No, nothing. They spoke nothing, so we had no idea where we were. We had no idea what to do, no idea how to get food. We were starving. It was a mess. So we're drunk as a skunk, trying to sleep on the ground of the bus because you can't sleep in those packed buses. If you've taken a bus in Europe, you know. So we're on the ground trying to sleep. It was wild. Get to the hostel that we were staying at super early in the morning, and then powered through. Which, looking back, I don't know how I did that, because your girl could not do that now. But we powered through. I'm pretty sure I even went skydiving that day. Like, it was wild. Okay, and then, oh no, I was gonna do 2 stories, wasn't I? Yeah. Okay, so let's also do, no, study abroad. Yeah, okay, I was gonna do 2 about study abroad. Okay, I'll do this one. We, in Barcelona, me and one of my friends were going to meet other friends in Budapest. And we were leaving on like a Friday morning. Thursday night, we decided it would be a good idea to go to the clubs. In this moment, she knew she booked up. Like, insert that meme. We go to the clubs. We don't get home till 7, 8 in the morning. Our flight's at 9. I pass out, at 7, 8 in the morning. And my alarm, I don't wake up to my alarm, or honestly, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, I don't think I set an alarm. I wake up to my friends who are in Budapest calling me, saying, "Are you at the airport?" No. Now I'm freaking out. We missed our flight, whatever. I call my friend. I'm like, "Hey, we're gonna miss our flight. Like, we gotta get a new one. It sucks. It is what it is." Luckily, flights in Europe aren't that expensive, especially back in 2015, 16, 17, whenever I was there studying abroad. Very, very cheap. So we were like, whatever, like, we'll just get a new flight. And he was like, "Jenna, we're making that. Like, get a taxi and we're going to the airport. Like, I'll meet you there." And I was like, oh my god. He actually runs to my apartment, literally runs, and I have no time to went out the night before, and I'm like hungover. I'm still drunk, the whole thing. So I just put whatever into a backpack. I had nothing. I had to like wear my friend's makeup and like shoot. It was... Anyway, so we're in the taxi and we're trying to tell the guy, like, we will pay you more if you speed. Like, speed. He gets to the airport. Luckily, we had a visa in Spain, so you don't need to like go through passport or whatever the situation was. Oh no, that was at Budapest. Anyway, we get there, we fly through security, and we're incredibly late. The plane is supposed to be taking off right now. We're sprinting through the airport like what you see in the movies. I probably smell like shit, like it was a mess. As the doors are closing, we just fly in. Luckily, they're pretty lax in Spain. We didn't get in trouble for that. As the plane is about to taxi, we're like, please, we're like begging the flight attendants, let us on. And she was just like, whatever, like waved us in. We didn't even have our seatbelts on. The plane starts taxiing. Like, shouldn't have made that flight, but we did. And then, yeah, we got to Budapest and it was disgusting. I had nothing. I had like no toothbrush. Like, it was bad. But I was there and, you know, we had fun. Stories from Europe. Yeah, I mean, a similar story would be, okay, so stories from Europe, aka like not studying abroad. So I was studying abroad when I was in college. Then after college, moved just back to Spain, to Madrid. So now a couple stories from when I lived in Spain. Similar to the Budapest story, we were going to Valencia for a festival. Las Fallas, I believe. Anyway, went out to the club the night before. Barely made it home. And then had no time to pack. Had to immediately go to the bus station to get a bus to Valencia for 6 hours. Not 6 hours, it was like 4 or 5. Anyway, and the issue was that once we got to Valencia, we didn't get a hostel or Airbnb or hotel or anything that night, because in Spain you typically party all night till like 7, 8, 9 in the morning. So we were like, we don't need a hostel or a hotel or Airbnb, because we'll just party all night and then get a bus at 8 in the morning, take the bus back to Madrid and sleep on the bus. That would have been fine if I already wasn't out partying the night before. So I went from the club to the bus. And on the bus, of course, we're drinking and partying, you know, to then pregame for the party when we get there. This all sounds insane. Not smart. Don't do what I did. Oh my God, don't do what I did. But whatever. It turned out to be good stories, and I've lived a fun life, I guess. Whatever. Me trying to like defend myself. Anyway, so that was crazy, and it was like 2 days of just no sleep, no nothing, no food. It was wild. Another one is like, there's just been so many crazy situations where like the language barrier is such a funny problem. It's not a problem, it's just like a funny situation. There was one time I was going between Strasbourg and Paris, or somewhere in France, me and my friend, and we didn't have a ticket well, we thought we had a ticket for the train ride. We didn't. Spoiler alert. So we get on the train, and the guy's like, do you have a ticket? And we were like, yeah, here. And he's like, no, that's not it. And we were like, well, what do we do? And he didn't speak English. It was a whole thing. So, and we didn't speak French. So we're like, okay, we're gonna go. And we just snuck back on the train. Again, don't do this. I was like 23, okay? So we just snuck back on and hid out in the bathrooms or the bar, where you don't need to like be in a seat. Sometimes we would go into a seat and just wait till someone came back. Oh my God, this is so bad. Don't do this. I was young and dumb. Don't do this. I'm gonna stop telling stories now because, yeah. Okay. Your time in Europe, like where it was, or where it was, why you were there, what you liked or disliked about your time there. So I've kind of talked about it already. I was there after college for a couple years and then came back during COVID. And I was in Madrid, Spain for the longest time. That was where I had my apartment. My whole life was there, work, everything. I went there to work. So I got a visa, like a residency card, everything, which was super helpful because traveling is a lot. Doing things in Spain is a lot easier when you have a residency card or a visa, very similar to the United States. And so yeah, like I fully lived there, and I worked. I did a bunch of different things, private stuff, public, like meaning like private with like families or businesses, public like schools, whatever. A lot of translating, teaching English, teaching, just almost like a freelance vibe. And I just pretty much worked to live there and then to travel. It's a lot easier and cheaper to travel Europe if you live in Europe. And that's what I wanted to do, is travel throughout Europe and the UK. So I wanted to do that when I was in my 20s, when I was young. I had no money. I literally worked to travel and to live in Madrid. But it was worth it. It was the best few years of my entire life. Like, truly. So yeah, what I disliked, I mean, I don't know if there was anything that I really disliked. I would say, I really didn't dislike anything. I guess it's just not as organized of a country as the United States or as a lot of other countries. Like, for example, you never knew when their siesta time was, so you could never bank to go to a store at any time during the day between 1 and 5 p.m. because you never knew when they were going to be closed for their siesta, their nap. Because in Spain, if you don't know this, most places close between like 2 and 6 p.m., an hour or two between that length of time. And so that was a little bit frustrating, but you get used to it and you learn to live a more relaxed lifestyle, because I love the Spanish culture, the people, the culture, the people were just amazing. But yeah, that was definitely hard. It was hard for me to get used to doing the public transportation, but once I got the hang of it, I loved it, and it was so convenient. Maybe I disliked... No, I mean, I think that was it. I mean, I loved it. I kind of disliked the, like, punctuality. There's a stereotype that Spanish people are not punctual, and it's true. Me and my Spanish friends would say, like, dinner at 9 p.m., which that was normal. You don't eat dinner till 9 or 10 p.m. in Spain. But I would get to the restaurant at 9. They wouldn't show up till 10, 10:30, and I was the weird one for, like, being early when I was on time. But again, you get used to it, and I ended up loving it. Okay, stories about your college experience, parties, relationships, anything. So college, now we're into college. In college now, and I love other people's stories. So, you're in college now. Enjoy it. Take advantage of everything. Study abroad, internships. If you're passionate about something, join that club, like debate club or whatever club. And like, go to the parties, meet people, you know, like put yourself out there, because friends are just, my college friends I'm still friends with to this day. So, you know, put yourself out there and do things that you love. Take advantage of everything and enjoy it. I loved college. Well, okay, I have a crazy story that I could buses, a lot of different areas. So one of my best friends and roommates, let's call her Sam. So Sam, at this time, I think we were seniors, she was dating, let's call him Josh. So she was dating Josh. They were boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever. That's a little bit of the backup. So I worked at a country club for a couple years in college, you know, like the whole beer cart, bartender, cater, waiter, server, whatever, at a country club. Well, I was friends with like everyone at the country club, and all of us, gals, guys, whatever, we would go out and party, like, you know, after shift. So we went out one night. It was like a Friday night. We go to the bar at like 10 p.m. and one of my girlfriends, she was like, "Hey Jenna, isn't that Josh?" Mind you, I went to college in a straight up college town. Like I'm not gonna say where, but it wasn't like a big city, you know, like Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Detroit. No, it was like a small town. Not small town, but smaller. You run into people. I couldn't go out to any bar ever and not know someone I know. You know what I mean? Okay. So she's like, "Isn't that Josh?" And I was like, "Oh my God, it is. Who is he with?" He was with a girl that was not Sam, my like best friend and roommate. One of my best friends and one of my roommates. But anyway. So I was like, "That's them, all right." And I watch and I'm like, he's from a bunch of states away from the state I went to college in. So I was like, that's not his sister, not a neighbor. He doesn't have that many connections. And I've met, you know, his friends. She doesn't look familiar. She's not. Something was up. And it's 10 o'clock on a Friday night. And Sam, my friend, didn't go out that night because she was like staying in, meal prepping, going to the gym. I don't know. And so I was like fuming at this point that I'd see him on a date with another girl. But before I freak out, I text Sam and I say, "Hey, Josh is here. He's with another girl. Can I confront him?" You know, asking for permission. And she was like, "Well, he told me that he was home tonight or at the gym, I think. So if he's out, yes, confront him." So I got the clear from my friend to confront. All the guys, you know, from the country club, like my friends, were like, "Don't do it, Jenna." And all the girls were like, "Yeah, get him." I, as I've said before, am no shrinking violet. I am a confrontational, stand up for myself and my loved ones type of person. I'm not quiet. So I go over there and I say, "Hey Josh." He looks at me, deer in the headlights. He's like, "Jenna." And I'm like, yeah, hi, what are you doing? You're supposed to be at the gym." The girl that he's with looks at me like, what is going on? And it's not her fault. I don't blame her at all. I pretty much only blame him. She had no idea. And she's like, "Josh, what's going on?" And I said, "He is dating my best friend and roommate. He's supposed to be at the gym. He lied to her, and he's with you." All of my friends and the whole bar at this point are like, "Oh my God." It's not funny. I actually feel bad for my friend, but he starts spiraling. "Jenna, I you know, starts texting and calling Sam. And I just said, "We're done here. You're caught. Sit with that." And I went back to my friends. Well, actually I went home because I felt bad for Sam, and I think, you know, she was upset, and we just like watched Gilmore Girls and talked the rest of the night. She did break up with him. So that was wild. What other stories? I mean, a lot. Like, we always went on party buses and they always got pulled over by the cops. I lived in a house one year that was like a total trap house. Like, it was right behind the frats. It was a party house. And there were so many days that I would look out my window working on my coursework, my classes, and everyone was like having a darty and partying. sounds so dumb when I'm saying it now, but at the time it was like the biggest thing in the world. Yeah, college was great. Definitely live it up. Okay, favorite thing this will be the last question, because this is going to be an hour long and no one needs to hear all this for an hour. Okay, favorite thing you learned about in college, course related, and just in life? I'll do both. Favorite thing I learned, course related. I actually wrote a thesis, because from this video you may think that I'm just a partier, and I am a partier, but there's also brains in here, okay? I read a lot, I do a lot of studying. In college, I graduated with honors, magna cum laude, whatever the, whatever, high honors, and I loved school, I did. I wrote a thesis, an actual thesis, a published thesis in college. I'm not going to go into what it was about. It's irrelevant at this point, but, it's just too long of a story, but wrote a thesis, and that was the best thing I ever have done for myself mentally and challenged myself. It really killed me, but it challenged me in such the most beautiful way. So my thesis. Besides that, I would say, and this goes back to find what you're passionate about and stick with that, because in terms of clubs or classes, because addiction is very important to me. Not I have really close people in my life that are dealing with addiction and have addiction issues, and when I was a kid and teenager, I didn't understand it. So in college, I really wanted to know the root of that, the biological, scientific reason for addiction. So I took some courses on that, and it was the most eye-opening, lifelong learning moment of my life. And then just in life, well, I would say it goes back to enjoying the experience. Friends are so important. The people you know in life, the people that you surround yourself with, good, positive, uplifting people. It's the most important thing. And I'm still friends with, you met Abby, one of my college girlfriends. I met her day one. I just make friends. Good people who you surround yourself with is who you are. In the dorms, I'm friends with everyone I met in the dorms. Now, my best guy friend's married with kids, and I'm friends with Abby, and all of us are still friends. And it was just a massive sleepover every night in college. So, yeah, just make friends, make good friends, make good choices, and if you do make bad choices and have mistakes, it's not that big of a deal, and you'll be fine, you'll do great. Just enjoy life, enjoy college. I know that there's a lot of pressure on college to have, even I'm kind of doing it, to have friends and party and all this stuff. Don't listen to that. Do what you want to do. I'm just saying what I wanted to do and what I was passionate about. But and I didn't even, talk about some things, there's other parts of my college career, my internships and my volunteering, and there's a lot to it. And just whatever you're passionate about, whether it's sports, volunteering, music, surround yourself with those people, do what you can, and the rest will fall into place. I promise. Okay. I'm gonna edit this, but I'm already an hour and 5-10 minutes in. So, if you happen to be here leave an emoji maybe. So let's do either. Yeah, okay, let's do the Spanish flag. If you comment the Spanish flag, then I know you're here, which would be crazy. There's no way that. Anyway, thank you for being here, for real. I love you. Let me know what else you want to see. If you have any other comments, questions, anything about anything I talked in this video, leave them